In the vast expanse of the universe, there existed a mighty civilization known as the Galactic Empire. For eons, they had reigned supreme, conquering countless star systems and subjugating innumerable species. Their advanced technology, powerful military, and unwavering resolve had made them an unstoppable force, feared and revered in equal measure. The leaders of the empire sat upon their gilded thrones, basking in the glory of their achievements. They looked upon the galaxy as their birthright, a playground for their whims and desires. No challenge seemed too great, no foe too formidable for their unparalleled might. It was during this era of uncontested dominion that the Empire's scouts stumbled upon a peculiar planet in a far-flung corner of the galaxy. The world was called Earth, and it was home to a relatively young species known as humans. The scouts observed these creatures with a mix of curiosity and disdain. They were primitive compared to the Empire's own advanced civilization, still confined to their own solar system and just starting to explore the concept of spaceflight. The reports of Earth and its inhabitants made their way back to the Empire's capital, where they were met with amusement and contempt. The rulers scoffed at the notion that such a backward species could ever pose a threat to their glorious reign. They dismissed humans as nothing more than another primitive race to be conquered and assimilated into their ever-expanding domain. In their arrogance, the Empire's leaders made a fateful decision. They would send a fleet to Earth, not to study or engage in diplomacy, but to claim the planet as their own. It would be a simple matter, they reasoned, to crush any resistance and bring these humans to heel. After all, they had done it countless times before with far more advanced civilizations. The orders were given and the fleet was dispatched. Mighty warships, bristling with advanced weaponry and crewed by the Empire's finest warriors, set forth on their mission of conquest. They traversed the vast distances of space, confident in their superiority and assured of their impending victory. As the fleet approached Earth, the Empire's commanders prepared for what they believed would be a swift and decisive battle. They planned to make an example of these humans, to demonstrate the folly of defiance in the face of the Empire's might. Little did they know that they were about to face a challenge unlike any they had encountered before. On Earth, the arrival of the alien fleet did not go unnoticed. Humanity's leaders, scientists, and military strategists scrambled to make sense of the situation. They knew that they were outmatched in terms of technology and firepower, but they were not ready to surrender their freedom without a fight. In secret meetings and hastily assembled war rooms, plans were made and strategies were devised. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would resist with every ounce of their strength and ingenuity. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The Galactic Empire, in their hubris, had underestimated the humans. They had failed to recognize the tenacity, resourcefulness, and sheer determination that defined this seemingly primitive species. As the first shots were fired, and the battle for Earth began, the Empire would soon learn the true cost of their arrogance. They were about to discover that the conquest of humanity would not be the easy victory they had anticipated, but rather the beginning of a war that would change the course of galactic history forever. As the Galactic Empire's fleet entered Earth's orbit, they were met with an unexpected sight. Instead of the primitive, disorganized resistance they had anticipated, they found themselves facing a united front of human determination. The people of Earth, despite their technological disadvantages, had rallied together in the face of this extraterrestrial threat. The Empire's commanders, confident in their superiority, ordered their ships to begin the invasion. Swarms of fighters and dropships descended upon Earth's major cities, intent on swiftly crushing any opposition. However, as they entered the atmosphere, they were met with a barrage of missiles and anti-aircraft fire. The humans had quickly adapted their existing weapons systems to combat the alien threat. They had studied the Empire's technology from afar and had developed countermeasures in secret. The Empire's fighters, caught off guard by the effectiveness of Earth's defenses, found themselves engaged in a fierce aerial battle. On the ground, Human soldiers armed with advanced firearms and guided by tactical expertise met the Empire's ground forces head-on. The invaders, accustomed to easily subduing lesser civilizations, were taken aback by the ferocity and skill of Earth's defenders. The battles raged across cities, deserts, and forests, as humans fought tooth and nail to protect their homeland. The Empire, frustrated by the unexpectedly strong resistance, called in reinforcements from their orbiting fleet. They unleashed powerful energy weapons and orbital bombardments upon Earth's defenses, hoping to break the human spirit through sheer destructive force. However, the humans had anticipated this move and had prepared accordingly. Hidden bunkers and underground facilities had been constructed to shelter the population and house the command centers. From these secure locations, human leaders coordinated their forces and launched daring counterattacks against the Empire's positions. They employed guerrilla tactics, striking swiftly and fading away before the enemy could respond effectively. As the war raged on, the Empire began to realize that they had greatly underestimated the humans. The primitives they had dismissed as easy prey were proving to be a formidable adversary. The Empire's losses mounted as human ingenuity and determination continued to frustrate their efforts. In the depths of space, human scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to reverse engineer captured alien technology. They studied the Empire's weapons, propulsion systems, and communication devices, seeking any weakness that could be exploited. Breakthroughs were made, and soon, human ships equipped with reverse-engineered technology joined the fight against the invaders. The tide of battle began to turn as humans adapted and innovated at an astonishing pace. They used their newfound knowledge to launch daring raids on the Empire's supply lines, disrupting their logistical support. They hacked into the enemy's communication networks, sowing chaos and disinformation among their ranks. The Galactic Empire, for the first time in countless millennia, found itself on the defensive. They had never encountered a species so resilient, so adaptable, and so utterly determined to fight for their freedom. The war that was supposed to be a quick and easy conquest had turned into a protracted and costly conflict. As news of the Empire's struggles spread across the galaxy, other subjugated species began to take notice. Whispers of rebellion and resistance grew louder as the myth of the Empire's invincibility crumbled. The humans, once dismissed as primitives, had become a symbol of hope for all those who yearned to break free from the Empire's oppressive rule. The Galactic Empire, their pride wounded and their forces battered, regrouped and prepared for a counterattack. They would not let this upstart species challenge their dominion. The war for Earth had only just begun, and the Empire was determined to crush the human resistance at any cost. Little did they know that the humans, united and emboldened by their successes, were ready to meet them head-on, no matter the odds. In the aftermath of their initial defeat, the Galactic Empire's leaders were consumed by a burning rage. The humiliation of being bested by a primitive species was a blow to their pride that they could not tolerate. The Emperor himself, a being of immense power and influence, demanded retribution against the humans who had dared to defy their rule. The Empire's war machine, vast and terrible, was mobilized on a scale never before seen. Countless warships, each a behemoth of destruction, were summoned from the far reaches of the galaxy. Legions of battle-hardened soldiers, genetically engineered for combat and unwavering loyalty, were assembled and prepared for the coming onslaught. The humans, aware of the looming threat, did not sit idle. They knew that the Empire's retaliation would be swift and merciless. In the brief respite they had earned through their valiant resistance, they worked tirelessly to bolster their defenses and gather allies from across the stars. Emissaries were sent to other worlds, bearing the tale of humanity's struggle against the Empire. They sought to forge alliances with species that had long suffered under the Empire's oppressive rule. Many answered the call, seeing in humanity a chance to break free from their shackles and fight for a common cause. As the Empire's armada approached Earth, the skies above the planet became a battleground of epic proportions. Human ships, augmented by the technologies and expertise of their alien allies, met the invaders head-on. The void of space lit up with the fire of 1,000 suns as the two forces clashed in a dance of destruction. On the ground, the Empire's forces landed in vast numbers, their weapons primed and their resolve unwavering. They marched across the earth, laying waste to cities and fortifications alike. The human defenders, outnumbered and outgunned, fought with the tenacity and courage that had become their hallmark. The battles raged across the planet, from the scorched deserts to the frozen tundras, from the dense jungles to the towering mountains. Humans and their allies fought side by side, united in their determination to defend their home and their freedom. They employed every tactic and strategy at their disposal, from guerrilla warfare to sabotage, from hacking to espionage. The Empire, for all its might, found itself mired in a war unlike any it had ever fought before. The humans and their allies proved to be a tenacious and unpredictable foe, adapting and evolving their tactics with each passing day. The Empire's losses mounted as they struggled to contain the resistance, their supply lines stretched thin and their morale wavering. In the midst of the chaos, stories of heroism and sacrifice emerged. Tales of human bravery spread like wildfire across the galaxy, inspiring those who had long lived in fear of the Empire's tyranny. The humans became a symbol of hope, a beacon of light in the darkness of oppression. As the war raged on, the Empire's leaders began to realize the true scope of their miscalculation. They had underestimated not only the strength and resilience of the human spirit, but also the power of unity and cooperation among the oppressed. The alliances forged by humanity had created a formidable force that threatened to unravel the very fabric of the Empire's dominion. The Emperor, his pride and ego bruised, refused to concede defeat. He ordered his forces to press on, to crush the resistance at any cost. The Empire's war machine, once thought invincible, strained under the weight of the prolonged conflict. Resources dwindled, and the cracks in their armor began to show. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of not only Earth, but the entire galaxy. The humans and their allies, battered but unbroken, prepared for the final push. They knew that the road ahead would be paved with sacrifice and hardship, but they were ready to pay the price for their freedom. The Empire, desperate to maintain its grip on power, marshaled its remaining strength for one last, desperate gamble. In the heart of every human, a fire burned, fueled by the desire for liberty and the determination to shape their own destiny. They had come too far to turn back now. The war with the Galactic Empire had become more than just a fight for survival. It had become a struggle for the very soul of the galaxy. And in that struggle, the humans would not yield, no matter the odds. As the war against the Galactic Empire raged on, the humans knew that they couldn't rely solely on conventional warfare tactics. The Empire's military might was too vast, their resources too plentiful. To stand a chance, the humans had to think outside the box and employ unconventional strategies that would catch their adversaries off guard. The human resistance, aided by their alien allies, began to wage a guerrilla war against the Empire. They struck swiftly and unexpectedly, targeting key infrastructure, supply lines, and command centers. Small, highly mobile teams infiltrated enemy-held territories, sabotaging vital equipment and gathering crucial intelligence. The Empire, accustomed to facing foes in open battle, struggled to adapt to this new form of warfare. Their rigid military doctrine, honed over centuries of conquest, proved ill-suited to countering the hit-and-run tactics employed by the human resistance. The Empire's forces found themselves stretched thin, chasing ghosts and shadows across the vastness of space. But the humans didn't stop at physical sabotage. They also waged a war of information and psychology. Hackers and cyber warfare specialists infiltrated the Empire's communication networks, spreading disinformation and sowing discord among their ranks. They leaked sensitive information, exposing the Empire's atrocities and weakening their grip on power. The human resistance also leveraged the power of propaganda and media. They'd broadcast stories of their victories and the Empire's brutality across the galaxy, rallying support from those who had long suffered under the Empire's oppressive rule. The tales of human bravery and resilience inspired hope in the hearts of the oppressed, fueling the flames of rebellion on countless worlds. The Empire, desperate to quell the growing insurgency, resorted to increasingly brutal tactics. They unleashed devastating weapons of mass destruction, targeting civilian populations in a bid to break the human spirit. But the humans, even in the face of such atrocities, refused to yield. They adapted, they persevered, and they fought back with even greater determination. As the conflict dragged on, the Empire began to experience dissent within its own ranks. Some of their soldiers, disillusioned by the endless war and the Empire's cruelty, defected to the human cause. These defectors brought with them valuable knowledge and skills, strengthening the resistance and providing insight into the Empire's weaknesses. The humans also forged alliances with criminal syndicates and pirate factions, leveraging their networks and resources to further undermine the Empire's control. These unconventional partnerships allowed the resistance to acquire advanced weapons, gather vital intelligence, and strike at the Empire from unexpected angles. The Empire, faced with an enemy that refused to play by the rules, found itself increasingly frustrated and demoralized. Their once unquestioned supremacy was crumbling, and the myth of their invincibility was shattered. The humans, through their ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer determination, had exposed the cracks in the Empire's armor. As news of the humans' unconventional victories spread, more and more species rallied to their cause. The resistance grew in strength and numbers, becoming a force that the Empire could no longer ignore. The tide of the war began to turn, and the once mighty Galactic Empire found itself on the defensive, struggling to maintain its grip on power. The humans, emboldened by their successes, pressed their advantage. They launched daring raids on the Empire's strongholds, striking fear into the hearts of their enemies. They infiltrated the Empire's ranks, turning their own weapons and technology against them. The resistance became a hydra, growing stronger with each blow the Empire attempted to deal. In the midst of the chaos and destruction, the humans never lost sight of their ultimate goal: freedom. They fought not just for themselves, but for all those who had been oppressed by the Empire's tyranny. They became a symbol of hope, a beacon of light in the darkness of the galaxy. The Empire, once thought invincible, was now on the brink of collapse. The humans' unconventional warfare had exposed their vulnerabilities and shattered their aura of invincibility. The stage was set for a final confrontation, a battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy. And in that battle, the humans would give everything they had, armed not just with weapons, but with the unbreakable spirit of a species that refused to be conquered. As the war against the Galactic Empire entered a new phase, the humans and their allies found themselves gaining ground. Their unconventional tactics and unyielding spirit had begun to turn the tide of the conflict, and the once invincible Empire was now on the defensive. The resistance, bolstered by their recent victories, launched a series of coordinated attacks on key Empire strongholds. They struck with precision and ferocity, catching the enemy off guard and dealing devastating blows to their infrastructure and supply lines. The Empire's forces, stretched thin and demoralized, struggled to mount an effective counterattack. On the front lines, human soldiers fought alongside their alien allies with a level of courage and determination that inspired fear in the hearts of their adversaries. They adapted to the changing battlefield conditions, employing innovative strategies and leveraging their unique strengths to outmaneuver and outfight the Empire's forces. In space, the Resistance fleet engaged in daring hit-and-run attacks, striking at the Empire's warships and disrupting their communication networks. The human pilots, aided by the advanced technologies of their allies, proved to be a formidable force, outmaneuvering the Empire's lumbering vessels and dealing critical damage to their fleet. As the momentum shifted in favor of the Resistance, more and more species flocked to their cause. Planets that had long been under the Empire's oppressive rule began to rise up, staging their own rebellions and joining forces with the humans. The Empire, once a monolithic power, found itself fighting a war on countless fronts, its resources stretched to the breaking point. The human resistance also waged a psychological war against the Empire, exploiting their growing weakness and sowing discord within their ranks. They'd broadcast messages of hope and freedom across the galaxy, encouraging those who had been subjugated to rise up and join the fight. The Empire's propaganda machine, once a powerful tool of control, struggled to counter the human narrative of liberation and justice. On the ground, the resistance forces made strategic gains, liberating key planets and establishing bases of operation. They worked tirelessly to rebuild and fortify these worlds, creating a network of strongholds that served as beacons of hope for those still under the Empire's rule. The humans and their allies worked side by side, sharing knowledge, resources, and a common purpose. The Empire, desperate to regain the upper hand, resorted to increasingly ruthless tactics. They unleashed devastating superweapons, targeting civilian populations in a bid to break the Resistance's resolve. But the humans, even in the face of such atrocities, refused to back down. They responded with even greater determination, rallying their allies and striking back with renewed fury. As the war raged on, stories of human heroism and sacrifice spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Tales of ordinary individuals rising to extraordinary heights, of unlikely alliances forged in the heat of battle, and of impossible victories snatched from the jaws of defeat. These stories became the stuff of legend, inspiring generations to come and cementing humanity's place in the annals of galactic history. The Empire, once a seemingly invincible force, found itself crumbling under the weight of its own hubris and the relentless onslaught of the human-led resistance. Their armies, once feared and respected, were now in disarray, their confidence shattered and their resolve wavering. The humans, through their tenacity and unwavering spirit, had accomplished what many had thought impossible. They had brought the mighty Galactic Empire to its knees. But even as the tide turned in their favor, the humans knew that the war was far from over. The Empire, though weakened, still posed a formidable threat, and there would be many more battles to come. The resistance steeled itself for the challenges ahead, knowing that the price of freedom would be high, but also knowing that they would pay it gladly. In the heart of every human and every ally who fought alongside them, a fire burned bright, fueled by the desire for a galaxy free from tyranny and oppression. They had come too far to turn back now, and they would see this war through to the end, no matter the cost. The Galactic Empire had underestimated the strength and resilience of the human spirit, and now they would reap the consequences of their folly. As the Galactic Empire's grip on power continued to slip, the once mighty civilization found itself backed into a corner. The human-led resistance had not only withstood their onslaught, but had also managed to turn the tide of the war in their favor. Faced with the prospect of total defeat, the Empire's leaders resorted to desperate measures in an attempt to regain control. In a shocking display of ruthlessness, the Empire unleashed a series of devastating superweapons upon the rebel-held worlds. These monstrous creations, born from the twisted minds of the Empire's most brilliant and depraved scientists, were designed to sow chaos and destruction on an unimaginable scale. Entire planets were reduced to smoldering ruins, their populations wiped out in the blink of an eye. The humans and their allies, though horrified by the Empire's actions, refused to be cowed into submission. They had come too far and sacrificed too much to let fear and despair consume them now. Instead, they channeled their grief and anger into a renewed determination to bring an end to the Empire's tyranny once and for all. The resistance forces adapted their strategies to counter the Empire's new weapons of mass destruction. They launched daring raids on the Empire's research facilities and weapons depots, seeking to destroy these abominations before they could be unleashed upon more innocent worlds. Human infiltrators, aided by their alien allies, managed to sabotage key components and steal vital information, slowing the Empire's production of these devastating devices. On the ground, the Empire's forces employed scorched earth tactics, laying waste to entire regions in a bid to deny the resistance any resources or safe havens. They burned crops, poisoned water supplies, and razed cities to the ground, leaving nothing but ashes and misery in their wake. The human-led resistance, however, refused to abandon the people they had sworn to protect. They established underground networks to smuggle supplies and provide shelter to those displaced by the Empire's cruelty. In space, the Empire's fleet, though still formidable, was stretched thin by the constant attacks from the resistance. The human pilots, renowned for their skill and daring, led daring strikes against the Empire's warships, using their smaller, more maneuverable craft to outflank and outgun their adversaries. The resistance also employed unconventional tactics, such as hacking into the Empire's communication networks to sow confusion and disrupt their coordination. As the war dragged on, the toll on both sides was immense. The Empire, despite its vast resources, found itself struggling to maintain its grip on the galaxy. The constant fighting had drained its coffers, and the loss of key planets and resources had weakened its ability to wage a prolonged conflict. The resistance, though battered and bruised, remained resolute in their determination to see the war through to the end. The Empire's leaders, in a final act of desperation, made a fateful decision. They would gather the remains of their once mighty fleet and launch an all-out assault on the heart of the resistance. They hoped that by decapitating the rebel leadership and crushing their main forces, they could break the back of the resistance and reassert their dominance over the galaxy. The stage was set for a final, climactic battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy. The Empire, driven by desperation and a thirst for vengeance, threw everything they had into this last gambit. The resistance, united by a shared desire for freedom and justice, stood ready to meet them head-on. In the heart of every human and every ally who fought alongside them, a grim determination took hold. They knew that the coming battle would be the most challenging and costly yet, but they also knew that there could be no turning back. The Empire had shown the depths of its cruelty and the lengths it would go to maintain its power. The only way to ensure a future free from their tyranny was to see this war through to the bitter end. As the two sides prepared for the final confrontation, the galaxy held its breath. The outcome of this battle would not only determine the fate of the human-led resistance, but also shape the course of history for generations to come. The Empire's desperate measures had only served to steel the resolve of those who opposed them. And now, the stage was set for a showdown that would echo through the ages. The Galactic Empire and the human-led resistance stood on the brink of a battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy. The Empire, in a last-ditch effort to regain control, had amassed the remnants of its once mighty fleet and set course for the heart of the resistance. The humans and their allies, knowing that this was the moment they had been fighting for, readied themselves for the final confrontation. As the Empire's armada emerged from hyperspace, the resistance forces were already in position, their ships forming a defensive perimeter around the rebel stronghold. The sight of the Empire's massive warships, their hulls bristling with weapons, was enough to strike fear into the hearts of even the bravest among them. But the humans and their allies stood firm, their resolve unshakable in the face of this ultimate test. The battle began with a furious exchange of fire, the void of space illuminated by the flashes of energy weapons and the trails of missiles. The Empire's ships, though fewer in number, were still formidable, their shields absorbing the brunt of the Resistance's attacks. The human-led fleet, however, refused to be intimidated. They danced around the Empire's lumbering vessels, striking at weak points and drawing their fire away from the rebel base. On the ground, the Empire's forces launched a massive invasion, their troops pouring from landing craft like a relentless tide. The Resistance fighters met them head-on, their weapons blazing and their hearts filled with the courage born of desperation. The battle raged across the surface of the planet, the once pristine landscape transformed into a hellish wasteland of craters, twisted metal, and the bodies of the fallen. In the skies above, human pilots engaged in a deadly dance with the Empire's fighters, their skills and daring put to the ultimate test. They weaved through the chaos of the battle, their ships pushed to the limits as they sought to gain the upper hand. The Empire's pilots, though well-trained and battle-hardened, found themselves outmatched by the sheer determination and ingenuity of their human adversaries. As the battle raged on, the resistance forces began to take heavy losses. Ships were destroyed, and fighters were shot down, their brave crews making the ultimate sacrifice in defense of their cause. The Empire, sensing victory was within their grasp, pressed their advantage, pouring more and more resources into the fray. But the humans and their allies refused to give in. They fought with a ferocity that stunned even their most ardent supporters, their courage and resolve shining like a beacon in the darkness of the battle. They rallied around their leaders, drawing strength from their unwavering belief in the righteousness of their cause. In a final, desperate gamble, the human resistance launched an all-out assault on the Empire's flagship, the massive vessel that served as the nerve center of their fleet. A small group of human infiltrators, aided by their alien allies, managed to breach the ship's defenses and fought their way to the bridge. There, in a brutal hand-to-hand combat, they confronted the Empire's supreme commander, a being of immense power and cruelty. The battle on the flagship's bridge was a microcosm of the larger war, a clash of wills and ideologies that would determine the fate of billions. The human infiltrators, though outnumbered and outgunned, fought with a fury that overwhelmed even the Empire's most elite guards. In the end, it was the supreme commander who fell, his reign of terror ended by the blade of a human warrior. With the fall of their leader, the Empire's forces began to falter. The news of his defeat spread like wildfire through their ranks, sowing confusion and despair. The resistance, seizing the moment, pressed their advantage, striking at the heart of the Empire's fleet with renewed vigor. In the end, it was the human spirit that prevailed. The resistance forces, battered but unbroken, emerged victorious from the ashes of the battle. The Empire's fleet, once the terror of the galaxy, lay in ruins, its surviving ships fleeing into the depths of space. The final confrontation had been won, but the war was not yet over. The Galactic Empire, though severely weakened, still clung to power in many parts of the galaxy. The human-led resistance knew that there would be many more battles to come, many more sacrifices to be made before true peace could be achieved. But for now, in the aftermath of their greatest victory, the humans and their allies could take a moment to savor their triumph. They had done what many had thought impossible. They had stood against the might of the Galactic Empire and emerged victorious. The galaxy would never be the same, and the name of humanity would be forever etched in the annals of history as the species that dared to challenge an empire and won. In the wake of the human-led resistance's stunning victory over the Galactic Empire, the galaxy found itself in a state of shock and disbelief. The news of the Empire's defeat spread like wildfire, reaching even the most distant corners of the cosmos. Populations that had lived under the Empire's oppressive rule for generations suddenly found themselves free, their shackles broken by the courage and determination of a species they had once dismissed as primitive. The Galactic Empire, once the undisputed ruler of the galaxy, now lay in ruins. Its mighty fleets were shattered, its armies scattered, and its leadership decimated. The few remaining loyalists clung to what little power they had left, but they were a mere shadow of their former selves. The Empire's fall was as swift as it was complete, and the galaxy was left to grapple with the aftermath. In the power vacuum left by the Empire's collapse, the human-led resistance emerged as the dominant force. The humans, once seen as a backwater species, were now hailed as liberators and heroes. Their allies, the various alien races that had fought alongside them, looked to them for guidance and leadership in this new era. The resistance set about the monumental task of rebuilding the galaxy, seeking to create a new order based on the principles of freedom, equality, and justice. They established a new galactic government, one that would serve the interests of all species, not just the privileged few. The humans, with their unique perspective and unwavering commitment to these ideals, played a central role in shaping this new order. But the path to lasting peace was not an easy one. The remnants of the empire, though weakened, still posed a threat. Pockets of resistance emerged, led by former imperial officers and loyalists who refused to accept defeat. The human-led government, along with its allies, found itself engaged in a series of smaller conflicts and skirmishes as they sought to stamp out these last embers of imperial power. Beyond the military challenges, the galaxy also faced the daunting task of rebuilding and healing. Entire worlds had been ravaged by the war, their populations decimated and their infrastructures destroyed. The new government, under the guidance of human leaders, initiated a massive reconstruction effort, pouring resources into the most affected areas. They sought to not only rebuild what had been lost, but to create a better future for all. As the galaxy began to heal, the reputation of humanity continued to grow. Their courage, resilience, and unwavering commitment to justice had earned them the respect and admiration of countless species. The story of their struggle against the Empire became the stuff of legend, inspiring generations to come. Other civilizations, once content to remain isolated or subservient to the Empire, now looked to humanity as an example of what could be achieved through unity and determination. Many sought to establish closer ties with the human-led government, seeing in them a powerful ally and a beacon of hope in a galaxy still reeling from the scars of war. The humans, for their part, remained humble in the face of their newfound status. They understood that their victory had come at a great cost and that the road ahead would be filled with challenges. But they also knew that they had the strength, the resilience, and the unity to face whatever the future might bring. As the galaxy entered this new era, one thing was certain: the name of humanity would forever be synonymous with the fight for freedom and justice. They had risen from the ashes of obscurity to become the defenders of the galaxy, the species that had dared to stand against an empire and emerge victorious. And though the future remained uncertain, one thing was clear: with humanity at the helm, the galaxy was in good hands. The once primitive species had proven themselves to be the guardians of peace and the architects of a new, brighter future for all. The Galactic Empire, in their arrogance, had underestimated the power of the human spirit, and in doing so, they had sealed their own fate. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity would forever be remembered as the species that had changed the course of history.